Hi everyone, my name is Amelia Mellor and I'm an author. This is my book, The Grandest Bookshop in the World, published by Affirm Press, and it is based on the Coles Book Arcade, which was a wonderful bookshop that was part of the city of Melbourne from about 1883 to about 1930. The founder of the bookshop was an amazing person called Edward William Cole, and he actually lived there with his wife and 6 children who inspired my story. It's historical fiction, but it's historical fantasy. So I've taken the Cole family and I've extrapolated a magical adventure full of puzzles and supernatural goings-on into this book, which I'm very proud of. With Grandest, I was able to do that. I was able to visit the Botanic Gardens to get a feel for the fernery. I went to an old-fashioned lolly shop. I visited the Mortlock wing of the State Library in Adelaide, because that was 3 stories tall and full of books and had a lovely skylight just like the arcade. This is my debut novel, but it's not the first manuscript I've ever written. I have been writing since I was 9 years old. You know, fresh out of uni, I did all of the submitting and getting rejected that many authors will be familiar with. I was very fortunate, though, that Grandest was sort of my 3rd time lucky, because the others won some awards and mentorships and that kind of thing. But then when I came out with Grandest, that was the one that sort of everybody was interested in because it's fun. It's fun and it's exciting. I get to experiment creatively. I tend not to write anything that's not weird. I like to come up with original things and things that I think people probably haven't seen before. And I also write because I think it has a really positive impact on other people too. I'm a teacher, and I am continually amazed with the reaction I get from my students when I tell them about my book or I show them, my character sketches. They get really excited about it. I finish a day at school and then I go home and I write. I rarely give myself a weekend. I'm just compelled to write a lot. Just because I'm not doing it during the day doesn't mean I'm not doing it full time. Writing in 2020 was quite easy because I was at home. I didn't have outside distractions that often. But teaching in 2020 was pretty difficult. And researching in 2020 was a real pain because I actually wasn't able to get to the State Library to do my research for the book that I'm working on now, particularly since my new book is set in a market, and I so badly wanted to go to the Queen Victoria market, but I knew that it, even if I could get there, it wouldn't be the sort of experience that was going to enrich the stories. During sort of the first quarter of COVID, I found myself, I wasn't reading very much at all, and I realised that was because all the books that I had lined up in my TBR were sort of disastrous, dystopian, climate change, pandemic fiction, so I actually turned to a lot of brighter things. Being a middle grade author, I was reading a lot of middle grade, but something that I read that was sort of dark, dire and disastrous that I really, really enjoyed was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. And I listened to that on audio actually while I was doing my hiking. And I suppose, like my book, it's a bit of a reinvention of a historical literary thing that everyone sort of thinks they know, but it's a really clever retelling, and particularly a really clever feminist retelling of the Frankenstein story, and a real tribute to Mary Shelley, I think. So that's a fantastic read. The first 2 that spring to mind are Mem Fox and Graham Base, because I would get my parents and grandparents to read me the same picture books over and over again until I memorised them. The rhythms of language I liked to sort of memorise verse, and I'm still a little bit obsessed with verse. Well, I'm working on a prequel to The Grandest Bookshop in the World, which is set in Paddy's Market in 1871. So we're sticking with the story of Mr. Cole, who had the most amazing life that I couldn't fit it in one book. And it follows the adventure of his first employee, young Billy Pike, who worked for the arcade for about 50 years. So was hired as a kid. I've made him a little younger. And that's going to be out in October. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.